Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Giridharidhari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Giridharidhari. Jasodanandana Brajachana Ranjana. Jasodanandana Brajachana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharidhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharidhari. Jasodanandana Brajachana Ranjana. Jasodanandana Brajachana Ranjana. Jamuna Tera Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayom Vishnupad Paramahansa Paribrajak Acharya Ashtotarita Shishrimad Abhay Charanarvindam Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Kodi Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Sangstapakacharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gogopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Shri Mayapur Navadip Dham ki jai. Gangamaya Jamunamaya ki jai. Shrimati Tulsi Devi ki jai. Shrimati Bhakti Devi ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada Lilamrta ki jai. Ekadasi Brata ki jai. Gita Jayanti ki jai. Samveda Bhaktavinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram. So, reading from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrta, and this is chapter number 5, must be book number 7. You know, it'd be better if you have the 7 volumes that are available in the BBT. Radhika Tanai, hello, come in please, Hare Krishna. Radhika. It's better if you have the 7-volume set, because in this printing, although it was convenient, the page numbers are not consecutive. They took the 7 books and put them together like that. But it's better if we have each individual book, and it's available in the BBT. And I suppose this is where we are on this marker. This is the spot. Tamal Krishna Goswami, Shamasundar, and Karan arrived in Bombay. Things had worsened. Giriraj informed them when Mr. N had seen the notice in the newspaper publicly advising that ISKCON had entered into an agreement for the Juhu property, he became furious. Giriraj had gone to him with folded hands and bowed down before him. But Mr. Nair, should we say Nair or only Mr. N? We all know, right? So I'll just say Mr. N. Mr. N would not be appeased. Must have been a powerful guy. Even 50 years later, we're still afraid to say his name. Must have been a really good adversary of Srila Prabhupada. He had gone back on his promises and had canceled the sales agreement on the plea that the devotees had not obtained the deed within a 6-month period. The 2 lakh down payment he had claimed was now his, and the devotees should vacate the land immediately. So this Mr. N, he had done this with other persons for this property. This property, 4 acres of land, was owned by Mr. N, right? And it just so happened that he had sold the property before to other persons. And what his method was, he'd take a down payment. Like he did with Srila Prabhupada. The total price was 12 lakhs of rupees. Very cheap. So Prabhupada immediately agreed. And what Mr. Nair was thinking was, just like other persons that he had taken down payments from, but the buyers weren't able to execute the registration and the finalization of the sales deed for whatever reason. So he would claim the deposit and cancel the sale. So he had already done that, and he thought that these devotees, they'll be easy. They're sadhus. They don't know anything about these complicated deal arrangements, so he'll easily be able to swallow the 2 lakhs, you know. But what he hadn't anticipated was Srila Prabhupada. And also that Sri Sri Radha Rasabihariji had come to the land. Actually, Srila Prabhupada said that as devotees, it's not our business to get into fights and disputes. As devotees, we could just walk away from the 2 lakhs, forget it, and go on with our devotional service. But Srila Prabhupada said, because Radha Rasabihariji came to the land and were sitting on the land, and if they had to go away, it was an insult to Krishna. Therefore I fought. For our own sake, try and understand the philosophical significance of this. Just, Prabhupada said, as devotees, we're meant to be Krishna conscious. Getting into big legal disputes is a distraction from Krishna consciousness. So normally a devotee would just walk away. You understand? But because it involved Krishna's honor, Krishna's respect, that Krishna had come here, Radha Rasabihariji had come here and was living on the land and were being worshipped, and if they went away, it would be an insult to Krishna. Then Srila Prabhupada was ready to fight. Understand? Mr. N had shut off the water supply to Hare Krishna land. Fortunately, there's some wells here, so even though he cut off the water, we still had water from the wells. Actually, the well water saved us in many summers because there'd be shortage and the municipal water would be very less, but because we had our own wells on the property, and the reason why there's wells on the property is that Mr. N used to use this property to grow coconuts, and he would sell the coconuts. So in order to keep all year long the coconuts trees watered, he had several wells. There's a well in this corner by the banyan tree, although it's covered, you don't see it. There was a well there. There was a well just behind or still is a well, just behind the Gurukul. And the main well was right in this corner over here. And devotees used to sit there and talk. So we used to call it the Prajalpa Kua. Just for your information. Prajalpa Kua. Several days later, a hoodlum who had shown up at the entrance to the property brandishing a machete whenever devotees passed by. A friend of Mr. N had printed a handbill ascribing scandalous behavior to the American Hare Krishna's devotees and was having it distributed at the nearby Ville-Parle train station. Although a few devotees had left and others wanted to, about 30 devotees still remained in Bombay. So this Mr. N was trying to make things more and more complicated for the devotees to stay in Hare Krishna land. He figured if he could harass the devotees enough, they would all go away, and then he could get his property back. The first thing to do, Karandar said, was to find a new lawyer, and he went to Bombay's most prominent solicitors and hired a specialist in land transactions and conveyances. Next, the leading devotees and their solicitor met with Mr. N in his office. Mr. N was stubborn and uncooperative, and the ISKCON lawyer was threatening. A court battle seemed inevitable. Tamal Krishna Goswami, Karandar, Bhavananda, and Shyamasundar talked together. And the more they talked, the more they began to see the entire Juhu scheme as impossible. Even without Mr. N's treachery, just to live on the land was very difficult. The devotees and the deities had such poor living facilities that the roof leaked and the cement floor was crumbling. Rats, flies, cockroaches, village dogs, and mosquitoes infested the place, with even an occasional poisonous snake. Devotees were always contracting tropical diseases, especially malaria and hepatitis. Actually, almost every devotee that came from the West and was living in India got hepatitis. You know, they would turn yellow, jaundice. The skin would be yellow, the eyes would be yellow, and there would be an infection in the liver. Almost every devotee. So the reason for that is, I also got hepatitis. When the temple opening was there in 1978, Makar Sankranti, I was in the Bharati Arogya Hospital with hepatitis. And I was in the Brahmachari ashram, and I was very sick. One devotee named Petit Udaran, he told me that, listen, everybody's busy in the opening and you look really sick. You better go to the hospital because nobody's going to take care of you here. Everybody's busy. So I crawled over to Bharatiya Rogya Hospital, which is just nearby, and checked into the place. And they took a urine sample, and they said, oh, you've got very bad infectious hepatitis. And they put me in the hospital. So I was there for 10 days during the opening of the temple. But I found out many years later, the reason is that the virus that causes hepatitis, everybody in India gets it when they're little. When they're small babies, they get it, and they become inoculated against the virus. And the virus travels in fecal matter, right? A doctor explained this to me. But Westerners, they never had that virus. And especially 21, 22-year-old Westerners, they're the most susceptible to the virus. And that's how old everybody was. Everybody was 21, 22 years old, 23, when they came to India to help Srila Prabhupada in the preaching here. So every single one of them, practically speaking, had hepatitis. I remember Giriraj Swami's explained when his parents came to visit him, he had hepatitis. And so they were very concerned about his health. Now, there wasn't really any medicine for hepatitis. The medicine for hepatitis was Live 52 and Mishri. You know Mishri? So you take Mishri and Live 52, and gradually your liver becomes uninfected, right? So the parents of Giriraj Swami wanted to know what was going to happen. And Prabhupada said, don't worry, we're giving him nice sandesh. He'll get better. So although ISKCON's new lawyer was prepared to take the case to court, the devotees were hesitant. Mr. N had said that they, not he, were criminals because they had not gotten permission from the charity commissioner. They were on his land illegally. He said he would sue for damages. He even seemed to be on the verge of some violent action. Considering all angles, the leaders whom Srila Prabhupada had entrusted to solve the Juhu entanglement decided that ISKCON should relinquish the land, drafting a joint letter to Srila Prabhupada. They had Shama Sundar hand deliver it to him in Vrindavan. The devotees, their idea was that before they were in Akash Ganga, downtown, in a nice apartment, and their preaching was downtown. They were making life members. So when they came out here, they had to go all the way by train downtown to make a member. This was just, hardly anybody lived out here in those days, right? Plus, they lived in a nice apartment in Akash Ganga, and here there were rats, dogs, cockroaches, people, gundas threatening them. So they thought, this is a bad idea. They really just wanted to go back to Akash Ganga. So they drafted this letter that, it's impossible, Srila Prabhupada. We just got to forget it and get out of here. And this is exactly what Mr. N wanted. This was 71. Sitting in his room at Radha Damodar temple, Srila Prabhupada read the letter from Bombay and then set it aside. He walked out into the open courtyard. In the last light of the day, many birds were chirping, and the devotees sat on the ground on a dirty, waiting. Prabhupada sat on the simple raised seat and began singing Jai Radha Madhava. He had Prajumna read, stopping him to explain a point whenever he felt inclined. He spoke of the special benefits of residing in Vrindavan, but warned that one should not come to the Dham to do business or to commit any offenses. If, however, a Vrindavan resident had commit an offense, he could still receive the special benefits, provided he remained sticking to the dust of Vrindavan. And many times Srila Prabhupada warned about coming to the Dham for ulterior motives. Living in the Dham is for spiritual advancement, right? And it's not a place to go, especially Vrindavan, for making a livelihood. That's wrong. That's offensive, right? So if you go to the Dham and make offenses, it's very detrimental to your spiritual advancement, right? One should go to the Dham for making advancement in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, many times Srila Prabhupada instructed devotees that go to Vrindavan, but don't go outside, don't go anywhere. Just stay within the walls of the Krishna Balaram Mandir. Because he knew the influences out in Vrindavan could bewilder devotees. Right? Of course, devotees go on prikrama, but they're like chaperoned on the prikrama. They go with senior devotees. They hear the pastimes of the Lord from the devotees, right? Either they go out with Dinabandhu Baba, or they go with their guru, right? So they have proper association to understand things. But many times we see devotees, they just go out wandering on their own in Vrindavan, right? And they meet other Brijbasis, and they hear so many things and they become confused about Krishna consciousness. So going to the Dham is very good, but at the same time one has to be careful. You should hear from proper authority and not just from anyone. Many devotees, not many, but there were devotees that became confused by hearing from other persons, right? They heard something, and they left Krishna consciousness, right? So one has to be cautious in the Dham to hear from the right authority, and to not. Even Lord Chaitanya told Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami not to intimately mix with the residents of Vrindavan, because you would not be able to understand. So, that instruction was there for Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, what to speak of us. It's doubly important that when we go to the Dham, we restrict our association to proper authorities, because we can easily become bewildered. Night fell, and in the dark courtyard, Prabhupada continued lecturing beneath the dim electric bulbs. The visiting pilgrims came and went, watching the Swamiji lecturing in English to his Western disciples. After the question and answer period, Prabhupada walked back to his room, exchanging words along the way with Gaurachand Goswami, the temple proprietor. Some devotees lingered in Prabhupada's room, and many Indians peered through the barred windows, although they had never cared to look years ago before the room's permanent resident, Bhaktivedanta Swami, had gone to America. So you know where they're at, right? Where this is taking place? Radha Damodar Temple. Yeah, this is before Krishna Balaram Temple is even open, right? So they're in Vrindavan, but they're at Radha Damodar Temple. An interesting. That was Prabhupada's place. Before he went to America, he was paying some couple of rupees a month for those 2 rooms. So when he came back, and his foreign disciples, that was the only place he had. So devotees would stay in different places around Vrindavan, and Prabhupada would be in his rooms, maybe with 1 or 2 other devotees that were tending him. But the other devotees looked for places, I think they had a couple of rooms upstairs too in Radha Damodar Temple, right? But it was very austere. ISKCON, there was no ISKCON place, right? They just had a couple of rented rooms in Radha Damodar Temple. So, in Jamuna Mataji's book, there's some very interesting stories there about how austere it was. Very austere. There was no electricity. In the summertime they lived there. Scorching heat, right? And no fan, no electricity. And they lived like that. And especially for Jamuna, a lady, she was like at one time the only lady that was there, huh? And a Western lady at that. So it was very, very difficult, but still, they tolerated because they were serving Srila Prabhupada, so they could tolerate all the inconveniences for the sake of Srila Prabhupada. But there's an interesting story from Jamuna's book that she tells. She had a room upstairs, and for some reason Prabhupada was coming to Vrindavan and was going to stay in Radha Damodar Temple, but he wanted to stay upstairs, and we had 1 room. That's where Jamuna was staying. So she had to find another room. And she got a room nearby the Sharif Hospital. You know where the Sharif Hospital is? Bhaktivedanta Swami Marg. If you go towards Chhattikar, the Sharif Hospital comes along the way. It's pretty far. So while Jamuna was staying in that room, every day she was feeding 1 monkey. The monkey would come to her window and she would give the monkey a chapati. So every day, and Prabhupada had told her that if you feed animals, feed them every day at the same time. So that monkey would come every day, same time, get something to eat, and go away, not cause any mischief, you know. So the news came that Prabhupada was coming to Radha Damodar, and he wanted to stay upstairs. So Jamuna found a different place in the Sharif Hospital, and she shifted there. And Prabhupada moved into the room. But then she realized that the monkey was going to come at the fixed time, and she didn't want that monkey to disturb Srila Prabhupada because, you know how monkeys are. So she's in Sharif Hospital, and she quickly, went to Radha Damodar temple and ran up the steps because it was right at the time. So there she saw the monkey had already come to the window, and Srila Prabhupada was talking to the monkey in monkey language. And Jamuna saw this, and she became shocked because, Prabhupada was having this conversation with the monkey, and then the monkey went away. So she was like, she didn't know what to say. She just was looking at Srila Prabhupada. She had come to see there was no trouble. And Srila Prabhupada turned to her and said, I told him to go away and come back later. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So this is, the devotees were living there in this Radha Damodar temple, and Srila Prabhupada was preaching to them, even though this very disturbing news came from Bombay, signed by the leaders, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, Kurandar, and Cham Sundar, that we should give up this Hare Krishna land. We should go. After the question and answer period, Prabhupada walked back to his room, exchanging words along the way with Gaurachandra Goswami, the temple proprietor. Some devotees lingered in Prabhupada's room, and many Indians peered through the barred windows. When Prabhupada was finally alone, he began to think of Bombay. Although hundreds of miles away, the occurrences there were beating on his heart here in Vrindavan. He took out his copy of the agreement he had signed with Mr. N. Then he called his secretary and began dictating a letter to his leaders in Bombay. He began his letter like a lawyer, answering logically, point by point. One reason his disciples had given for wanting to give up the land was that the charity commissioner had refused them permission. In that case, Prabhupada reasoned they should try to get back the money and give up the land. But it appeared that the charity commissioner's permission was delayed, not denied. A small matter. Although Mr. N had mentioned a 6-month time limit for obtaining the charity commissioner's approval, Prabhupada pointed out that the original agreement mentioned no such time limit. Work in the charity commissioner, even today, takes time. If you want to get permission, it's not a quick thing. You make an application, and then it just even if you follow it up every day, still it takes time. Another reason Prabhupada's men had given for wanting to relinquish the land was that, according to Mr. N, they had failed to obtain conveyance within 6 months, as per the original sales agreement. Prabhupada replied that, according to the clause in question, it is our opinion to rescind the contract within 6 months, not the vendors. But the real point was that Mr. N had accepted checks worth 1 lakh rupees as down payment within the 6 months period, and therefore the sales agreement was completed. And this is Prabhupada's letter. We consider that he has completed the conveyance, and we do not want to rescind, but we shall close the deal immediately. Finish. That's all. He's trying to avoid this issue by tricks, and he has dominated you, and you are a little afraid of him. But he has befooled you to think that he is superior legal position so that you will give him some money. But this is cheating. We shall not give him any more money. Don't pay him any more. First of all, bring a criminal case against him. So why should you be disappointed and afraid of him? Our position is very, very strong. So definitely two different ways of looking at things. Srila Prabhupada's vision and the vision of the devotees. That was very often the case when devotees thought that we should move in a certain direction. Srila Prabhupada would not approve and give very valid reasons why their intention was not the proper one. If Mr. N was threatening violence, that also was not ground for quitting the land. The devotees were on the land legally and should seek police protection. Then Prabhupada's letter again. Therefore, I say that you boys cannot deal very well in these matters because you are too timid. Now, whatever you like, you may do. Immediately criminal case should be taken that you are not doing because he is bluffing you. He says big words and makes threats, and you believe him foolishly and do like he says. That I shall not do. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Prabhupada's conclusive advice was that the devotees go to the magistrate and tell him, we gave Mr. N money and now he's threatening violence to drive us away. They should not be afraid. So you can see how involved or complicated the history was, or the history is, of Srila Prabhupada's getting this land for Sri Sri Radha Rasabihariji, right? Not only did he have Mr. N to contend with, but he also had these inexperienced, timid devotees to contend with too, trying to advise him. They're not asking what should they do. They're saying, Prabhupada, we want to do this, right? So he had to deal with Mr. N. He had to deal with inexperienced devotees, and at the same time manage the worldwide ISKCON movement. But you can see, even though the letter came, and anyone else would have been, immediately attending to the letter, Srila Prabhupada kept to his program. Went to the courtyard, spoke on Bhagavad Gita, took questions and answers, coolly, calmly, considered. Right? This is a sign of a great mind and a great personality. They approach everything in a cool head. Srila Prabhupada clearly says that the best policy for a devotee is to be submissive and to have a cool head. Right? Prabhupada had not come to Vrindavan only to lecture. He wanted to begin construction on his new property. And the news from Bombay didn't distract him from his purpose. Every day he would have the devotees hold a Sankirtan procession from the Radha Damodar temple to the property at Ramanreti. He would also go out occasionally to see the site. Still, nothing more than grass huts, a wire fence, and a small stock of building materials. Subal, the disciple in charge of construction, was slow and reluctant, and Prabhupada sent for Tamal Krishna Goswami to come from Bombay and take charge. Early one morning, Subal left the land at Ramanreti, where he had been staying, and approached Srila Prabhupada on the roof of Radha Damodar temple. Prabhupada, he said, I am having so much difficulty, I don't have time to read. I can't chant my rounds properly. I can't think of Krishna. I'm always thinking of how this contractor is cheating us, or I'm thinking of signing checks for labor and materials. It's just too much. All these things on my mind are stopping me from thinking of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada, do you think Arjuna was simply meditating on Krishna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra? Prabhupada replied, do you think that Krishna was sitting in yoga trance? While on the battlefield, Krishna worked? I remember Prabhupada gave a lecture once, and he said, don't think that Krishna told Arjuna, you just sit in the chariot and smoke ganja, and I'll do all the fighting. No, not like that. He told Arjuna, you fight. You fight. Right? No, he was fighting. He was killing for Krishna. He was thinking of all the soldiers he had to kill for Krishna. So Krishna consciousness is not some kind of process that you sit down, right? There's some practical work that you have to do for Krishna. Arjuna was doing Krishna's work, right? He wanted the Pandavas established as the king. So there was practical work to do. Just like Srila Prabhupada has given us a practical work to do. Distribute books. Right? He said that was the order of my Guru Maharaj. And practically I was following it blindly. Distribute books. Right? What did Srila Prabhupada come with when he came to America? 3 trunks of books. Right? He said, but now I see the result. I see the result. Srila Prabhupada said, whatever you see in ISKCON, temples, youth preaching, whatever it is, whatever advancement we've made has come about by the sale and distribution of these books. Keep that in mind. He said, distribute these books in as many languages as possible, and the Krishna consciousness movement will automatically spread. So how important is that? Practical work that we have to perform. Subal was thinking, I can't chant, I'm always thinking of checks, the labor, we're getting cheated. But that's also thinking of Krishna. It's Krishna's service. Right? And who's qualified anyway here to sit and chant all day long. If I tell you, okay, you chant all day long, how many hours you'll chant? Huh? We're lucky if we chant 16 rounds. You know, sometimes they announce on Ekadasi, today everyone will chant 25 rounds. Well, there's a lot of devotees that can say, well, today I'm going to chant 16 rounds. Right? Srila Prabhupada said very clearly in the Chaitanya Charitamrita purport that out of all the initiated devotees, very few will be chanting 16 rounds and following the regulator principle. Now that was published back in 74, 75. So back then I knew, I was a new devotee. Hardly I was a year in the movement when I read that. And I knew, yes, some devotees had left out of the devotees at that time. I knew that. But I said, most of the devotees are here, but Prabhupada's saying very few. Right? Now as the time goes on, I can understand. So, sticking just to this point, it's not a simple thing. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschid mam tatvataha. Many thousands, one will endeavor. And of those who endeavor, hardly one will know me in truth, Krishna says. So, how to, stick to the process, it requires some practical engagement in Krishna's service. And what other more practical thing is there than distributing Srila Prabhupada's books? Right? Yagnai sankirtana prayi ajanti hi sumedasa. What is that yagya? Right? The fire sacrifice the Brahmins would perform and light the fire for pleasing Vishnu. Right? Disseminating knowledge. Right? Krishna describes what is transcendental. The fire of transcendental knowledge can burn up all the reactions to sinful activities. Right? So what's in Prabhupada's books? Transcendental knowledge. It's like the sacrificial fire of the Brahmins in the Vedic system. Right? The all pure, the pleasing the demigods, pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu. It's the same sacrificial fire. It's the yagya of the Kali Yuga. It's the Sankirtan yagya. It's all purifying. It purifies the whole world, the Sankirtan yagya. Right? Back in 1974 or 75, during the Gaur Purnima festival, Srila Prabhupada said to the devotees that very soon there will be a war, another world war. So all the devotees were like, really? He said, yes, the next world war will start between India and Pakistan, and then it will spread all over the world. So many devotees were talking about that. He said it on the morning walk. He was out in the rice fields in Mayapur, walking. And you can hear on the tape that Srila Prabhupada's coming back from his morning walk when he revealed this to the devotees. And he and you could hear, as Prabhupada was coming closer to the temple, you could hear the kirtan going on in the temple. Because Srila Prabhupada would go out for his morning walk, devotees would be doing kirtan, and Srila Prabhupada in Mayapur. And in those days there was nothing in Mayapur. There was only our building, which is now called the Lotus Building, and there was a yoga pit. There was absolutely nothing else except for some huts the devotees lived in. And Prabhupada's bhajan kutir. So, and then Srila Prabhupada would enter into the Lotus building and have darshan of Radha Madhava, which was the small little Radha Madhava, and Mahaprabhu. That's the only deities that were there at that time. And then he would circumambulate Radha Madhava 3 times. And every time he would get on the side of one side, there was a big bell. And Srila Prabhupada would ring that bell. I think they even do that to this day when they go on Prikrama with the Murti of Srila Prabhupada. They ring the bell, because that's what Prabhupada used to do. And Prabhupada would become, the devotees would become completely ecstatic when Srila Prabhupada rang the bell. The kirtan would just all of a sudden get 10 times louder for some reason. And then Srila Prabhupada would walk to the back of the temple and sit down and give the class. So, you know, he also mentioned about a year later in Geneva, Switzerland, when he was there, that there doesn't have to be a war if the devotees enthusiastically spread Krishna consciousness. So we can see that 75 to now, many years have passed. Of course, the pure devotee is not on the same time frequency that we are on. When we think of very soon as like very soon, you know, a couple of days or 1 month. So their time reference is different from ours. Because in the spiritual world, there's no past, present. I mean, there's no past and future, there's only present. So you can understand we're always stuck in either remembering the past or worrying about the future. We're very seldom in the present. Like right now, we might be listening and at the same time thinking of prasadam, the future, dictated by our stomach, right? But the residents of Vrindavan, they're always in the present with Krishna. But anyway, another way to look at it is that, yes, the book distribution has gone on and is going on, and that's what's keeping this Third World War at bay. Right? Try to understand, if the Third World War happens, there's going to be nothing left of India. Nothing. I don't know if any of you kind of knew what happened when the atomic bomb dropped in Hiroshima or Nagasaki. But within seconds, 250,000 people died. 5 square miles was completely flat. Not a single building was intact. The heat was so intense, steel melted. The bombs that Pakistan has are hundreds of times more powerful than the atomic bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. What do you think is going to happen to Bombay? So how much important is the practical work that the devotees have to do? The practical work. Very, very important. Very important. All mad people are running the countries. Mad. They're completely mad. The sane persons are those who are chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. So actually it's a fact. The Krishna consciousness movement and their work has been able to save the world from this total annihilation. So the responsibility on us is very great. We have to keep getting the information out there about Krishna consciousness. And what's the best way to do that? Distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. So I'll end there, and if there's any questions, we can try to answer them. Okay? Yes? Yes, Hare Krishna. Consciousness is the symptom of the soul. Consciousness, just like heat and light are the symptoms of fire. In the same way, consciousness is a symptom of the soul. We know the soul is present within the body because there is consciousness. Just like we know there's fire if we see or experience heat and light. In the same way, this entire universe, it exists and it is acting because of the presence of the Supreme Consciousness, the Supreme Soul. So Krishna consciousness means to be aware of our own identity as spirit soul and understand that we're part of the Supreme Consciousness, Krishna. Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada Lilamrta ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi.